Hey everybody, welcome to One More Round. Today I'm very excited. I've got a guest that I've been talking to for a little while. She's a friend of mine, a personal friend of Jess and I with her husband, Dom. But today it's going to be a little bit of a different discussion, something that is super cool. A few weeks or about a month ago, her dad, Dan Puente, was on. He was the founder of DP Electric, and we talked a little bit about his daughter succeeding him and taking over the company. And what a cool story that has been, because she's not only just taken the company, she's grown it. And I asked, if she would be kind enough to spend some time talking about that and just her story. So, Danielle, thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, of course.
Looking forward to this.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So let's start a little bit with kind of your background. I mean, you grew up in a family business. What was it like growing up in a family business, and what was kind of your first recollection of like DP Electric?
Yeah, growing up, I would say my interactions as a kid was just going to like family picnics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once a year. I think as I got older, I would go to the office to do like filing or have jobs in the summer. Mm-hmm. I think, my dad's story of building a business from nothing was always an inspiration to me. When I went to University of Arizona, I studied accounting, but my other major was entrepreneurship, just because I just would go to these company picnics and see 200 people there, and I'm like, wow, all these people have a livelihood because of my dad. Mm-hmm. So I did also study entrepreneurship to learn more about creating business plans, creating something from nothing. I always felt like I maybe wanted to do my own thing, though, mm-hmm. Not necessarily wanting to work in the family business. It was never talked about as a kid, oh, one day, Danielle, you're going to be mm-hmm. running the show. But I think my dad's story obviously planted that seed and kind of had an impact on where I had my focus in school.
Yeah, and you have a sister, and
mm-hmm.
is she entrepreneurial minded at all, or?
She has a nursing degree,
okay,
so she's got more of the science brain. Mm-hmm. And my other major is accounting, and I just naturally was really good at the numbers and debits and credits and A-type
yep.
personality, firstborn, responsible one. I have that typical
yep.
persona.
That hierarchy, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny because, first of all, go U of A. Hopefully they do well in the tournament next. I don't know if you follow their basketball, mm-hmm. but they're doing pretty darn good. You probably do.
Yeah.
You went to school for entrepreneurship, and I always have to ask, what's it like in a college environment learning from professors? Did your professor have entrepreneurial background? Did he have businesses and then just I'm going to teach, or was he teaching on theory? What was your experience there?
All the professors there, it's called the McGuire program, but they all had experience actually creating businesses, and then most of them were venture capitalists.
Oh, cool.
So they were at a stage in their career where they were kind of evaluating the pitches, investing in these startups, and kind of helping as an advisor. So we did a lot of mock presentations mm-hmm. and stuff like that. So it was a fun experience.
That's awesome. What was there an idea you had that you're yeah, I might go this direction, of something that you were passionate about before, going into this?
I think when I first graduated from school, I did not know what I wanted to do, so mm-hmm. I did public accounting. I think that's a great place to learn. You're working 80-hour weeks, so you kind of get a compressed experience, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
And what was nice about at least public accounting was I got to see some of these huge corporations and how they functioned. One of my clients was U.S. Airways.
Oh, wow.
And American Airlines now, but so I think that was a good training ground, and they typically hire just the best people, really high performers. So just being in that environment was very cool. Mm-hmm. And so going into DP Electric, a very different environment than mm-hmm. big corporate companies. And there's a lot of good things about that. Also, just everybody that worked there, their backgrounds were drastically different, right? So just a different environment. But I think even just having 3 years of outside experience at least helped me initially coming in.
Yeah, and it seems like it would, because you get a kind of a different worldview, so to speak, on business and how it works, rather than just like going straight into the machine.
Right.
And then like, okay, this is how the machine operates. You can be like, oh, well, I kind of saw this, and you probably even made some adjustments based on some things that you were able to see, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then, so you started with DP Electric as an accountant or a controller, is that right?
Yeah, so I started as the controller, and my story getting into DP is a little bit of an interesting one because the controller at the time left DP Electric. He had been with the company for over 10 years, I think 15 plus years. And my dad mentioned that the controller left, and that's a great accounting opportunity. So I asked just a few questions about it, and my dad instantly like talked my ear off for an hour and was like, construction's the best industry, just lit up, right, talking about it. And I was still like, I don't know if that's the path for me, you know, I'm not really sure about that, kind of shut it down. But so he went to go look for like a CFO or controller that had a ton of construction experience that could help level up his business. And he would offer the job to somebody and it would fall through. Even coming, like he had one person that like was there for a week and was not a fit, just like weird stuff. So that happened 3 times over the course of 5 months. And so I think it just took me that long to wrap my head around it. And so at 4 or 5 months into his search, I was like, okay, let's go actually have a discussion about it. So we went and had like a beer, and he kind of started interviewing me and asking me all these like interview questions. But looking back, obviously that was meant to be. As you know, getting into the business, I think like actually right when I started, my father was like, we have to change our accounting system. This one's sunsetting. So I already signed us up for a new software. We have to have it done by the end of the year. And like, those are big projects, right? But it was a really good first step for me at DP because I learned all of our workflows. I learned so much about the business just based off of the system. And I was there late every night. I was working weekends. So I think the team was like, okay, this girl is here to work. Like, not that, not, it was important to me. I mean, I've always had a strong work ethic, but that's not always the case with like other generations. So it was a big lift, and really my initial journey at DP was just understanding construction, the lingo, how we do things. And within the first year, I hired a really strong HR leader, and she helped me really like put more structure around culture and a lot of initiatives. And it was about a year into me being at DP that we started to win the top places to work. And I think that was a really rewarding part of like my beginning journey at DP.
Yeah. That's awesome. And for some that didn't get a chance to hear your dad, to kind of give them a perspective of DP Electric, you know, talk about the size of DP Electric, the market you serve, just so people can get a perspective of what you walked into, and then it's like, wow. And then I want to talk about like, you've obviously graduated into first role and then the next, but give people an idea of like the size of DP Electric.
Yeah, so today we are about 1,300 employees in Arizona and in Texas. Revenue this year will be around $350 million. We're based in Tempe. Our headquarters with our training center is like 75,000 square feet, and we still don't have enough parking spaces. So very massive. We branched into Texas 3 years ago, and that office now is about a $30 million office with over 100 team members out there. So very large organization. When I started 10 years ago, we had about 200 employees and we were about 30 million. So 10 years, like over 10x. So it's been like a big growth trajectory of the business since I've been there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's kind of wild because Dom and I have known each other for your husband, have known each other for quite a long time now, like probably 8 years or so. And you think you were dating at the time, at least. I know you weren't married yet. And he had mentioned, I had never heard of DP Electric, but then like he mentioned it, and I'd be driving and I'd see a truck, and then like I'd see another truck, and I'd be in downtown Phoenix and I'd see a truck, and I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, your girlfriend, she does pretty well. In my mind, I'm thinking that. It's like, that's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, it's a massive size. So now let's go back to you're a controller. You've learned that. You got to see everything, especially with that implementation. And people that don't work in the world of putting a new software in that size of a company really might not understand, but it takes, I mean, sometimes dozens of people with different functions to make sure that everything isn't breaking along the way. It's implemented to where your customers are still having a great experience, because you never want, that, certainly with like an accounting software side of things, like, right. Oh, well, I didn't get that, or why do I get this invoice, early, those types of things. So like, you go through that, all the workflows, which is great, because now you see how the machine works. And then you stepped into the CFO role next, right?
Yeah, so I did that in, I think it was 2018. And what was probably most helpful in that seat was I was able to hire a controller, right, that did a lot of the day-to-day. So when I became CFO, I spent a lot more time on the operations side of our business. Our VP of Ops, Joe Clark, he actually started with me 10 years ago as a senior PM. And so worked really closely with him. And I had more time just to like get out to job sites and understand the workflow more on the operation side, which is, the heartbeat of our business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would say it was in 2020 where we formed a more structured leadership team. So Dan, I give him a lot of credit as an original founder, because he recognized that for the business to flourish and function in the future, like he really did have to let go and just be there as a mentor. So in 2020, we formed a leadership team, and even though I was CFO, I was the one running a lot of the meetings, helping with planning our offsite strategic planning. But 2020 was the first year we did our first long-term strategic plan of prior to that, we would just set budgets for the next year, and it was mainly like Dan and I that would have the discussion and tell everybody. But 2020, we had more discussion about what does the 10-year picture look like, what does a 3-year picture look like, and that was really motivating for the team to have those longer-term discussions and get on the same page. And we are a EOS company.
I was just going to ask, Traction's awesome. I like literally the 10-3. I've built out the little blueprints many times. So.
Right, the VTO.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think most of our growth has definitely happened over the last 5 years, and I'm really thankful for EOS because it just, growth can be stressful and chaotic, and there's a lot of pain points that come with it, but having that structure of like, okay, no, this is the focus for the year. This is what we're going to do in the next 90 days, and who's doing what. Like you get a lot done when you put things on paper and you go after it, right?
Totally.
So that was helpful, and I think having the leadership team allowed me to picture being Dan's successor, right? Like what would that look like when I am in his seat? Who are the people that are around me that are going to support me? And getting a lot more comfortable with that. So it was, I don't know, sometime between 2018 and 2020 that I was like, no, I want to be your successor. Let's do this. And Dan's always had a lot of faith in me and supported me. Yeah. It's actually interesting because my mom, the more involved I got, she was just like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, it's just a stressful business. Because she saw the impact it had on my dad. But obviously, today they just couldn't be happier with how the company's doing. And being family, there's a lot of peace of mind. I know you're in the financial industry side, but just like it's family. So they're going to have the same lens and same care with everything that you have. So
totally. And it's like with kind of what I do for a living is literally helping give families peace of mind, whether they own a business or not, of like what that legacy looks like. And it's, you know, it's rewarding, but it's so important to like, you know, have that peace of mind at the end of the day that when I'm gone, things are taken care of.
Right.
And or if in your case, like he lets go of the reins, like, oh my gosh, it's taken care of and it's flourishing. So about 2018 to 2020, like you knew you wanted to, but do you remember the specific conversation where you're like, Dad, or I'm sorry, you call him Dan, but Dan, you know, I think I'd like to, let's do it. Do you remember the conversation, or was it just kind of natural because you're already doing a lot of the day-to-day?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think there was like one conversation. The whole transition was very organic, and I think those are like the best transitions, right? Even when we formed a leadership team, we didn't make some big announcement. I think our team just started to see, oh, Danielle is making the decisions now, right? Or maybe, and so, yeah, I don't think there was one moment. I think also over the course of the 10 years, I've just gotten like so much more like passionate about our mission and where we're going, that I just started to realize like this is what I want, and I think I can have a really good impact, right? And we have really strong team members that are creating the results that we've had over the last 5 years. I just think with the legacy and everything, it's just very, very like meaningful to me, like the DP, right? The brand.
Yeah, you get out of bed every day and like, you know why you're getting out of bed every day. Like, so tell me, what is the mission of the company? What is the 10-year mission?
Yeah, so overall, like our mission statement is like empowering our people to grow personally and professionally. To create an exceptional experience for our team and our community, but it's really focused on our people, and so that like is the lens that we look at everything when we're making decisions, is how do we create the best environment for our team to succeed. And so when we set our 10-year vision, it's really to be like the employer of choice in the Southwest. So we want to be essentially create what we have in Arizona in the Southwest region. Texas was our first step in geographical expansion, but always with the lens of like being the absolute best work environment, because when you have the best people, then your clients are happier, which creates opportunity. So that is our guiding light. And when we went into Texas, it was really important to me that when I walked into that office, that it had the same feeling, right? And that team has like exceeded my expectations, because I think we do a good job with onboarding now, but I go out and visit and meet some of our new team members in Texas, and I remember there's a gentleman and came up to me, and he's just like, I'm so excited to be here. He's like, everything that you and your father are about, I'm about that too.
Yeah.
And it's just cool, like just, you know, a 2-hour plane flight away, like these new team members like know our vision and they're excited about it. And then they're like creating that excitement with other people. So it's really like exceeded my expectations as far as being able to build something like we have here so quickly.
Yeah.
Like I thought it would be something that would take even more energy and effort and time, but pretty quickly on, they're just like, they're jazzed. And actually, this week we flew some of our field leaders from Texas to Arizona to do like a field leadership training. So I think our team's really intentional about like they came back to the mothership and they get to see our training center, how we focus on people. They get to see me, our VP of Ops, our team. So they're just like very connected with everything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little more about a specific on that, because I know what it's like just on a small scale to go into a new market, right? And I've done it in a few companies. but on a small scale. I mean, less than 100 employees, that type of thing. You already are doing super well here. You decide you want to open up Texas. What does that look like? Are you taking some of your leaders out here and then moving them out there to start that? Tell me a little bit about what that process looked like.
Yeah. So initially, we knew we wanted to expand out of the state. So we did a bunch of market research on surrounding states, right? Texas, to be honest, was not even on our radar. We followed a client out there. So we have a big presence out at TSMC. It was somebody we worked with on that campus that had a big opportunity in Texas. And it was with a client we had history with. The scope was relatively low risk, right? We were able to build in travel expenses into our bid. So we were like, let's give it a try, right? So that's a little bit of a learning lesson for me. Like, yes, the research and the strategic plan is very important. And you have to be like fluid and flexible with the things that come to your company.
Yeah.
But what we did was we sent 2 of our field leaders from Arizona to Texas. They did all of our craft hiring. So I think they had a really good lens for what the expectation was for the team that we were building. And then we hired a local leader. That was a senior PM. Great culture fit. Wanted the opportunity to grow and build something on his own, and had more insight into the local market. So we kind of merged the two.
Got it.
And then we started in a job site trailer. So it wasn't a big upfront investment. And then we just grew until we were busting up the seams in the job site trailer and now have our own 8,000 square foot office.
Wow.
And I think, flash forward to today, I think one thing that we do a little bit differently is we're like, let's have the best people and build the team, and like the opportunity will come, right? And so that team has grown quite a bit, and even some really good like project managers or estimators that maybe start and we're like, help us get this new job. Like, we're in it for the long run, right? But it's nice to have the team in place that's trained and ready for that opportunity when it does come. So you're not constantly like playing catch up. But yeah, so I think when we enter other markets, it's been a good playbook for us. So I think ideally we would look for an existing client relationship. Most likely a local leader, although it could be another leader, but having vetted DP people, especially on the field side, is important.
Yeah, so very smart maneuvering. It's like you take your people out to do the hiring because they know what the lens of DP Electric is, what the culture is, what they're hiring for. Then find someone in the local market, make sure that's a fit, let them lead because they have the skill set to do that, and then have an existing project out there. Like, that was great, being out there. It's like you could duplicate that over and over.
For sure.
Which you probably will.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a couple questions. I had to write some down because I don't want to forget anything. You guys are employee owned, which is so cool. What made you make the decision to become employee owned, and what does that mean for those that really don't understand it?
Yeah, I think the initial idea definitely came from Dan. He had seen other contractors go that route. Love the concept because it is that ownership mentality, right? Of this is my business, and the goal is that everybody is like, I'm willing to give that extra effort, right, to make us successful. And at the time, I think with the ESOP, you just really need that consistency of performance, and you need strong succession and depth of leadership. And so when I first started, that probably wasn't there as much, but flash forward to when we did the first ESOP transaction, which was in 2021, a lot of those things were in place, and it was a good fit for DP at the time. I know a lot of, multi-generational companies typically go from that original owner to the next generation. I think what I appreciated about the ESOP was that, like, when I've envisioned my future as president CEO, my job is a lot easier if everybody on the team is just naturally aligned. They have, skin in the game, and they, as a retention tool, right?
Yes.
And so, and it's also super motivating to me, like, it's a grind every day, but, fast forward 15, 20 years, if I love watching people's growth in their career, but also watching some of that growth and people retire with a ton of money and be like, yeah, like, we've all earned this. That's like exciting for me. Because my goal is to build like shareholder value, right? And our shareholders are all of our employees. Right. So I think I was also very supportive of it. And I think for me, I have a vision that I will be in the business for a long time. I also need to constantly think about succession. If something changed in my life, as long as I have good succession, it's actually pretty easy for me to get out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where when you are the sole shareholder of a massive company, it is a big lift, and I've seen that firsthand of trying to exit, right? So I think that's just another, bonus of our current structure is our structure is a structure that can exist for hundreds of years. It's not something that I have to figure out again. And then the next generation has to figure it out. And then, like, it's going to work for us for a very long time. And I also love that aspect of it.
I like it for a lot of reasons. One of the big reasons is when it comes to the ownership, right? Everybody gets to participate in the win, right? And it's not like just a bonus. It's like, no, our company grew in value. Like, my net worth grew in value because we're growing that way. The retention tool that you mentioned is incredible as well. But you mentioned something that could, literally sustain for hundreds of years. And the reason that is because it's a hybrid between being an employee and an owner. Right, it gives them the option. It gives I would say if you asked, a normal person that's just working at a normal, great job in the corporate world, hey, would you like to have ownership someday? They would say, yeah, but why don't they do it? Because there's a lot of risk involved.
Right.
But would you like to have ownership of your current company or a way to participate? They would say yes all day long. It's like a guarantee. But then they're like, okay, but so that's why it can continue on forever, because it's always going to be instilled in the human nature, is to want to participate in the win and all that.
Yeah. And for those like that don't know what an ESOP is, it's a retirement plan.
Yeah,
where,
it's
like,
an
the
employee
shares,
stock option pension.
Yeah, where employees have shares of the business in this retirement plan. It's vested over 6 years, but they do not have to put any of their own money into it, and it's just an added benefit.
Yeah.
And that was important to us that when we became an ESOP, we're like, this is on top. We're not taking away your 401k. We're not taking anything away. This is just like an added perk.
And it's a really cool added perk.
Right.
That's awesome. So the next question I had, now currently I'm the sitting president of the National Hispanic Construction Alliance here in Phoenix, right? We're a small organization right now, but we do have a national presence. It's cool and it's growing. It's been amazing. So I've got to meet some really great people in the construction world. Construction world is primarily dominated by males. What's it like coming in as a female into this and really running one of the largest companies in this realm in the Southwest?
Yeah, I am definitely the minority. There's no doubt. I think the stat is like 10% women in construction. So I'm very used to going into a room and maybe I'm the only female. I think that, like, just naturally with the way I function, having that diversity is really helpful to our industry, right? It's a different lens, a different way I approach challenges.
Yeah.
And I think ideally if we have just like more representation I think it will be seen as like a place that welcomes women, right? The more other women see women in the business. I think, you know, just the way I was raised, it's like you can do anything. So I never like had in my head that I couldn't do what I have my mindset to because I'm a woman, right? I just had a really good support system. And everybody within the company, like, is just so supportive and like, and obviously the respect I've built through my actions, right? But I've had a lot of strong men that have like supported me too. But I mean, I would love to see more women in the industry. I think there are efforts. It's actually NAWIC, WIC Week. It's Women in Construction Week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we
That's
did like...
right. I've seen some posts on that.
Yeah. So we had a big event with the ladies of DP this week, so it was good to see. But there's also efforts, like one cool initiative, it's called Move Over Bob, but they're like doing these like fun magazines. They almost look like teeny bopper magazines, but it's all like women in the trade, like with their hard hat, like explaining the at least opportunity, right? And having that representation, and they're sending them to like high schools. So as much as I can, I try to help support that initiative. But yeah, I mean, as far as hard situations being female, it's been very, very rare.
Yeah.
And I would say that it's the outlier of people that maybe aren't willing to follow me because of that. I could probably count on one hand in 10 years the amount of like difficult situations related to that.
Yeah. Well,
I know that might not be the case for every woman in construction, at least for me, yeah.
Well, the thing about it is, right, you're a leader. Like, you've got all the traits, and, you know, you've developed them, I'm sure, over the years. You know, the person you're seeing today isn't the person, you know, we were 10 years ago, but you have all the traits of a leader. And there's something about going in an organization where instinctually, guy, girl, doesn't matter. Like, you know that they got the traits, like, after seeing them function.
Right.
And then it doesn't really matter anymore.
Exactly,
yeah. So, you know, you've gotten to that level, which is a level most people never get to, guy or girl. Like, leadership is so important. What have you done to polish your leadership skills? How are you doing that as a CEO, president of this company, and taking it to $1 billion, I'm sure, at some point?
Yeah. Maybe because I'm naturally an accountant, I'm kind of a nerd with like constantly learning. So I just read like a lot of books or Audible. I think I've done a lot of leadership classes that DP's offered me. Like, I've done a ton just because I'm like, I can always get something out of those experiences. I also think a big part of my growth is like having a peer group. So once I was CFO, I was in a CFO peer group with Arizona Growth Advisors. More recently, as like a CEO group, I'm in YPO. But it's like having other perspectives and leaders that are in similar situations that I can kind of get a lot of insight from. And one shift for me with the growth is like, I love like being the expert at things, and I have like an analytical brain. So I noticed with myself, sometimes I maybe would spend like months on something that, like, if I just picked up the phone and like called an expert, I could figure it out in a week.
Yeah, right.
So that's been a shift for me. That's really helped me of like, I don't need to know everything. I just need to know the people that know the things.
Right.
And then, and we're fortunate with our growth and our success that we really can invest in a lot of those other third parties that are very experienced in a lot of different aspects of business, right?
Yep. No, it's definitely important to rely on professionals. I know what you mean, though. I'm very similar in that aspect. I love to learn, and I love to know things, and like sometimes I get really dialed in on things,
right.
and sometimes it is important to do that. other times just picking up the phone, like, hey, this is your expertise. Like, can you, because I have a lot of attorney friends from my former company, and I mean, it's helped me a ton. Like, I don't need to sit there and try to learn all that. I can call them, and yeah, sometimes they're billing me for their time, but like, this is what they do. This is what they so they can help me navigate a situation, right? Yeah, so let's see here. Okay. So let's talk about, you mentioned in your mission statement, is to help people grow professionally and personally. And we just talked about growth. You guys built the, what is it, DP? University, yeah. And it's like front and center on your website, which is super cool. And obviously something you guys know, because I asked your dad the same kind of question, like, why do you spend so much time investing in your people? Like, it's kind of an obvious answer, but I want you to talk about what that is and how important that's been to your growth.
Right. I think why we do it is what I talked about earlier, which is like the more we invest in our team, the more successful we're going to be, right? So it's like a philosophy. I think they're just like with our overall growth, there's been like stepping stones of what we can do as it relates to training. And I believe it was in around 2020 where we brought our apprenticeship program in-house. We used to outsource it, but now we have an apprenticeship program that's accredited with the Department of Labor. We have about 150, maybe more now, apprentices in our program, and it's a 4-year program. And the reason we brought it in-house was just for an overall better experience for our team, and also like being able to build the best program in the Valley, because if you can do that, then you have your first pick at talent, right? Because they want to be part of your program. And then once you get them in the door, then again, it's a retention tool. And I think sometimes I hear like, oh, you're going to spend all this money for this 4-year program. What if they don't stay? And like I went to our apprenticeship graduation in January, and what's cool is we do like a big ceremony because it's like 4 years of your life. Like it's a big graduation where they bring their family, and it's fun seeing like the parents and like grandparents come that are really excited to celebrate their family member. But there was one mom that came up to me and she's like, before DP, my son was like very like lost and didn't know what he wanted to do. And now he's just so like dialed in, and like everything you're doing a lot of things right. And like, you have my son for life was what she said. And so I think we spend so much time and effort on our culture that once we get people in the door and once they're here with us for like at least a year, they're really not like going anywhere, right? And so for us, spending all these dollars on the training, we're definitely getting that ROI, right, on our people, because they're more invested, they want to stay. But now Deep University, it's not just our 4-year apprenticeship program, but we implemented like a learning management system where it's trainings really at all levels of our business. So the field leadership development program we started over a year ago, but it's an intensive course for like our field leaders, and it basically teaches them everything from the soft skills leadership side, but also how to plan a project, all the way to close out, what our expectations are, all the softwares we use. It's like, I think it's 13 or 14 classes, and they're like 8 hours each. So it's a big investment. But what we found was with our growth, we were promoting people probably sooner than they were ready, because we just needed somebody in that
Makes
spot.
sense. Yeah.
And then like the old school way in construction is you give them an iPad and you're like, good luck. And then that person is like, they don't have the tools to be successful. Maybe they're not successful. And then they get discouraged and they're like, is this even what I want to do? So we lose a good person, and then our client's not happy because they're not having a good experience. So it's like, what are we doing to prepare our team for these responsibilities? And so it's been a big lift. It's another level of time and money. But we were just like, we can do better here, right? Yeah. So let's do it.
I think it's amazing. I wish more companies would do it, because like you're equipping people, and like that's, you never want to put somebody in a position, and I've had a lot of people work for me over the years, and I always tried to never put them in a position that they couldn't be successful.
Right.
You ask the right questions when they're coming on, and sometimes you get it wrong. I've gotten it wrong many times, but it's like, and then if it's just training, great, let's get you the training.
Right.
Let's get that going. So it's cool. It's kind of funny you're talking about apprenticeships, which I think is one of the most. The trades are going to be where it's at in the next 20 years, in my opinion. With everything that's happened with AI, that's one thing that will continue to thrive. And I'm sure you guys are utilizing internally AI, but you know what? You're not going to have electricians out there building and doing those things. That's not going to be replaced by robots, or at least not anytime soon, right?
Right.
So I think it's so important. But that's what my dad did. He became an apprentice. He became an electrical engineer through his apprenticeship through 4 years at the mine. So he had me at 19. The only jobs were go work for the prison or go work for the mine.
Yeah.
He's like, I got to make money. He went for the mine. He started shoveling rock. That was his first job. And my grandfather, my great-grandfather, we both retired from the mine. That was just kind of what you did.
Right.
And my grandfather gave him advice. Says, you need to get yourself an apprenticeship, son, so you can move up.
Right.
And he saw that first month of shoveling rock. He's like, this sucks.
Right.
And then he moved to another position. But then he's like, hey, would you like the apprenticeship? But there, what happened was you took a pay cut it was 4 years. And that pay cut was, basically because they were paying for your education and whatnot.
Right.
And he's like, he took the pay cut, and most of the people didn't. He became an apprentice, and for him though, it was like to get out of to bigger and better things.
Right.
And it brought him up here as an engineer without a college degree, which was in that time. This is back in 1997. Like that didn't exist. There were no engineers that didn't have a college degree. But he came up here because of that apprenticeship, became an engineer, was very successful on that realm. But it's like, I wish more people understood. And I'm telling my kids this. I'm like, hey, consider trades. I'm talking to them about potentially, going into the electrical field. They'll work for you maybe someday.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not going to go away. It's going to be there. What do you see like as and I know we're probably limited on time, so I apologize for keeping you a little longer, but what do you see for the industry in the next 5 years when it comes to the construction world? Like, where do you see some of the hotbeds in the country? We're obviously, I think we just reached the second largest city in the country, didn't we?
I know we've been in the top 5 for a long time.
I think it just announced last week we were number 2.
Okay.
It's insane.
Nice. That is.
But what do you see in the next 5 years?
I think in the next 5 years, in addition to Arizona, I feel like Texas is another booming market, right? I think in addition to, we're in Austin now, but we want to also expand into Dallas. And where there is a lot of opportunity for us now and probably for the next 3 to 5 years is the mission critical space, just like the sheer number of data centers that they're wanting to build. And these are huge projects, right? And I think they're just, we have like power constraints, right? I think everybody wants to build these faster, but they need the power, right, for these buildings. But I think even for the existing base of data halls, they have, a lot of recurring future things of revamping those systems over time. And then the semiconductor space too, like TSMC is going to be building for a long time, and even when they're done, they'll similarly they'll go back to the fabs and retool everything. So those are probably the manufacturing and the data center market are some of our biggest ones that will continue. But as a business, we're just very relationship focused. So we're just like, let's focus on that and let's stay diversified, because whatever you're going to build in the future, like we want to be your partner in that. But I mean, it's been, I guess since I started at DP for 10 years, it's been like an up market. I think in the next 3 to 5, we're going to continue to see growth. After that, it's hard to tell. But I think why we're so focused on the geographical expansion is like, it just protects the business, right? If you have one market that is flat or going down, maybe you have another one that's growing. So I think it's just a smart move to protect the value, right. of the business, which is all of our assets, right?
Absolutely.
So.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you spending some time today. I think it was a great conversation. What you've done, what your dad's done, what you guys have created is very, very impressive. And I look forward to continue watching you guys succeed. And obviously, again, you and Dom are good friends of ours, so we'll see each other outside of this.
Sure.
But any ask you have of the audience, or like if they're interested in working at DP Electric, where do they go?
Our website is the best spot. And I think like on those more entry level apprentices, we are starting like a process, right? We're almost like career fairs where we have them a few times a year that they can come and check out our training center and get connected with our recruiting team. So I would say also the pipeline of people wanting to get in construction. Over the last few years, I've seen a lot more excitement around it, more interest, and that's definitely a good sign for our industry, where the sheer quantity of people that either know about it or want to get into a 4-year program, we've seen a huge growth in that space, so it's good.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, guys, I know you got a lot out of this. You're going to see some clips floating around, but share it out with some friends. And reach out to Danielle if you have any questions. We'll put some show notes here, and we'll put the website and all that stuff. But thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time.
Thank you.